welcome to part 2 about how to do a back squat. In part 1, we learned about why we should do it, who should do it, and the benefits associated. And now I'll show you how to properly execute one. So we're talking back squats, and we'll have other videos showing you how to do a variety of other different ones. But with this one, I always want to use the free weights because with the Smith machine, you're risking coming straight up and down, which is not the natural motion we should be doing in a squat. You shouldn't be in this fixed plane just going up and down. There's a natural forward lean to make sure you're staying over your center of gravity and right over that midfoot. Okay, so I've taken my shoes off to make sure I can really ground properly into the ground. I have lifting shoes, but today I was wearing more of like a squishy running shoe, which you don't want to do heavy lifting in. So I just took my shoes off so that I have that sensory ability into the ground. So when you're adjusting your rack height, you want to make sure it's a height that's appropriate for you to come easily in and out of without coming up on your tippy toes or super squatting down to get it in and out, right? We don't want to be exerting more work before we've even started or after we've finished lifting something relatively heavy. So I have it set up to be a perfect height for me where it's a little bit lower than my shoulder so I can easily just walk in and out. So I'm going to show you first, which is what I prefer, which is a high bar back squat. So it means that it's resting right under my neck, it's resting on my traps, and on the top of my rear delts. So I'll show you that one first, and then we'll talk over a low bar. So I place my hands first, because that means that I'm going to dive underneath it nice and even. If I go under it and then place my hands, you're likely to be off. And we definitely don't want to pick up a bar that has me way over here, and I'm going to fall that way, right? So place your hands, make sure you're facing into the rack so that you're not backing it in when you go to finish. And split stance coming in just to make sure you have stability so you can get set with that weight. You don't feel like you're going to fall over taking it out of the rack. Diving underneath. Make sure you're ready, pick up that weight, and then walk back, get set. I choose a stance a little wider than hip distance apart, but the wider you go, which would be then into a sumo squat position, the less distance you're going to have to travel to get down to parallel. The narrower you are, the more distance you're going to have to travel to get down into parallel. None of them are wrong, it's just personal preference, but for typical traditional back squat, I usually go a little wider than hip distance apart, and I turn out my toes at a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to maintain a neutral spine position the entire time. I'm going to drive into the ground so that it feels like I'm pushing the ground away from me, engaging my glutes, driving back up to a full hip extension here at the top. So my breathing, I'm going to breathe in as I go down, and I'm going to hold it as I come up, breathe out at the top. Then when I go to walk it in, I again do that split stance to make sure that I'm walking it in directly, that it gets into the rack, and then I'm not going to miss on one side because I'm trying to twist it in this way, which is likely to hurt your back. So, that was a high bar back squat. I'll show you a low bar. I can do them with the bar, but it really starts to hurt my wrists, and I have to thoroughly warm up my chest to be able to do low bar. But the idea behind that one is it's closer to your center of gravity, closer to your midline. The bar, because it's not up as high, isn't traveling as far forward, if that makes sense. So I usually, with that one, will have a little bit wider stance with my hands. Come into it the same way, but it's resting more on my rear delts. My shoulder blades are pinched together in the back, and then it's the exact same thing as you did in the high bar. Okay, and you're likely to need to set up the rack a little bit lower just because you're holding it lower down on your body. So that's an overview of a back squat. If there are any other questions, feel free to reach out, but I hope that that helps you crush some back squats in the gym.